Here's a peek at what guests had to say after the show.
All right, here we are in overtime. Ariana, your book talks about 3 metrics for success: money, power, and happiness. If you don't have money or power, isn't happiness hard to come by?
Direct.
I mean, you can have money and power, but not have any connections with anybody?
And
You're
it-
not going to have connections.
and it
You're not
does
going to have
start, but
happiness.
it
I think you ask a lot of people who've had money, it's terrible. You look at any pop star that had all this pile of money, and they're the most miserable people.
But
ever.
even without putting money
Well.
and all that down, I think they keep
That's not.
And health.
Let's not be that hard on money. I mean, I never had a problem with it. But you know, I've had many years before I had any money, so maybe that's the key.
I think the movement from poverty to the middle class is a huge gain in happiness.
Yes,
in other words,
I agree.
you're avoiding the
It
kind
wasn't
of-
my case.
Yeah, exactly.
I remember poverty. I liked it better when I was not there.
And nobody is putting any of that down. The point is that right now, look around and millions of people are completely burnt out.
Yes.
And they think burnout is the way to success. And they are paying a really high price in terms of their health. And you see...
Tell them what made you want to write this book in the first place.
Well,
You
I
had an
actually
accident
myself,
from being too...
collapsed from burnout 7 years ago, broke my cheekbone, got 4 stitches on my right eye, and it started me on this journey of redefining what success is.
But collapsed literally at your desk
At
from
my
working.
desk.
That's how you broke your face. You were like, oh.
But this idea of being always on, you know, if you add, like, I love technology, I'm always plugged into everything, but it also has a cost. You know, the idea of trying to know everything, to speedily respond to everything, to share all your thoughts all the time through various devices is expensive, you know, emotionally.
Crazy.
Well, and that's why we can do little things that can turn this around, like get a little more sleep. I had a nap in my dressing room before the show. I even Instagrammed it, if you don't believe me.
Wait, how do you Instagram your nap?
What
is the technology?
I've had guests who had the nap on the show.
And also, do not sleep with your devices next to your bed. That's very important. Charge them
But it's
far
okay
away.
to be Instagramming yourself
While you're sleeping.
After. Somebody can do it when you wake up. But the point is that it's key.
How about just don't do that shit at all? I don't do that shit. The 16 hours I'm awake, I would never even think about
Missing
checking
out.
every 5 seconds.
Well,
Missing out? Really?
Throwback Thursday.
They say that Calvin Coolidge would not only take a nap in the afternoon in the White House, but change into his pajamas for the purpose.
And what a great president.
And it was
Did he take a selfie?
the country was doing pretty well.
Silent Cal we're talking about. Okay.
It was a time of peace and prosperity.
Yes, yes it was. As we headed toward the crash of 1929. Sister Simone, in the past, people of faith turning out for elections has not been associated with progressive political outcomes. Well, that's true. Could this year be different?
Well, 2012 was a bit different, so I think 14 could be different. The important piece is, though, is that while I do this work because of faith, where we meet as a whole nation is in the Constitution. It's all about we the people, and it's a communitarian reality that we the people have got to form this more perfect union. We've got to work together. And so turning out to vote is not only a right, but it's an obligation. We have got to step up to our obligation in this nation.
So this...
You sure you don't want to run for office? I'm telling
A
you.
lawyer and a
she is
nun
like
kill it.
right there.
I think
the
I have
question-
the perfect ticket for 2016. Elizabeth Warren and Sister Simone.
Boom. Mind blown. Mind blown. Also,
The
this,
Huffington Post will endorse it.
okay. This idea that in the past, people of faith turning out didn't do so well for progressive causes, you got to open up the measurement on time in that one, because the whole concept of freedom rides and voter rights in the South and the whole idea that I can vote now was powered by a lot a religious movements.
Just reading it,
So,
too. Don't
I'm not
blame me.
attacking you. I'm just saying. Who's the person who wrote that?
Plausible
I
deniability.
think what they're thinking of, they're thinking of Pat Robertson. They're thinking of the recent, you know,
The 90s.
There had been a huge,
parasitic
there had been
I
a
hear
huge
it.
gap there
Takeover.
between Republicans and Democrats and faith vote. I think Obama has put God back into Democratic politics. There was a concerted effort among Democrats after the Bush era to we have to figure out ways to talk to people of faith. So you must be very comfortable with this.
Oh, I loved it when he said the first thing in the morning he gets a scripture reading on his BlackBerry. That made me feel very comfortable. Does Mitt Romney supporting minimum wage mean that the rest of the GOP might shift on this issue? Because Mitt Romney today came out for the minimum wage. Now, Mitt Romney was for raising the minimum wage before he ran for president in 2012, and now he's back. So unlike him to flip-flop, but you know, I guess there's a first for everybody. What do you think about that, Mitt Romney for the minimum wage?
I think the minimum wage is a minor issue. I think the big issue in our economy is that.
Well, not for people who.
Sister Simone,
it is not a minor issue.
You're misunderstanding me.
Preach. At the heart of people's struggle.
I was trying to make a different point in saying that it was not important. I wasn't saying that it's not important as an issue. I was trying to say that for Republicans and for conservatives, the key issue is keeping incentives in our economy in order to keep innovation and enterprise alive. That's what's made the American way of life.
Can we do both?
Hold on. Of course we can do both. I'm not speaking against the minimum wage at all. It's typical of Romney. No, it's typical of Romney.
Could I tell you about Jason? Could I tell you about Jason, who's an entrepreneur?
You haven't finished about Robin.
Wow.
No, I told you about Robin. She's living in a homeless shelter.
State of the Union.
Okay, well, we don't.
Jason's in our balcony, right? And
that would be really great, because then he could tell you the story. But Jason is an entrepreneur. He is innovative. He's created 3 different companies. He's 35 years old, and he told me he pays real solid living wage to all of his people. But you know what? It's making him mad that he pays taxes, and he knows his taxes are going to fund his competitors because they don't pay living wage. So they have their people going using the safety net. His taxes are paying for the safety net. He's funding his competitors. That is undermining our innovation. Not that I have any feelings on the subject.
You're not going to win this one over here.
But to answer your question, no, Republicans aren't going to move on minimum wage.
Right, there you go. Okay. Why does the media keep proclaiming that immigration reform is dead, and what can we do to make sure we get the reform our nation needs? Well, they probably keep saying it's dead because it's dead.
Right.
Yeah.
Actually, there's a minor window that's still open. It is possible to get it done if there's only 2 people standing in the way, John Boehner and Eric Cantor. And if we put enough pressure on them, I think we could actually shake it loose. We have to do it before the July recess, but I think it's possible.
I think the problem is that everyone, immigration reform advocates, and I would include myself in that, even though I'm not supporting this particular bill at any given time, they bet the farm on comprehensive. Let's put everything in this right now. And this is not a time when comprehensive bills have a great track record of being popular and successful. Anything that has that much sausage in it is going to be kind of ugly. You're going to get a lot of e-verify systems.
It's a giant militarization of the border.
We've already militarized the border like crazy over the last 10 years.
We're scared because we don't have a war anymore in Afghanistan or Iraq, and we got to have a war somewhere.
And every single comprehensive thing is going to have a bigger wall, a bigger e-verify. Yeah, well.
But also, we let Obama get away.
This is an important point, though, because our government is militarizing across the board. Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the Bundy situation. It's a little scary when the BLM, land management, shows up with SWAT teams at your house. So whether the guy paid his taxes or not, I don't know. But if I didn't,
we do know, and he didn't.
Yeah, and he didn't. But he's in a court battle, and my point is there are ways to resolve.
Court battle for 20 years.
Yeah, with 4 judgments against it.
It was a repo.
But to Dinesh's points, there are now dozens of federal agencies that have full police powers. This is a post 9/11 Homeland Security Act thing. So now we have the FDA doing, raids on farmers who sell raw milk, guns at 5 a.m.
Well, then we have militarized police because of the drug war. Like every local police department has military hardware,
which is the biggest single
flush with it to do all these raids on grandmothers because maybe some relative.
Well, we thought this was going to happen to the terrorists, the spying, the militarization, and now we realize it's happening to us.
Exactly.
But we have Benghazi, so
we'll always have Benghazi. All right, thank you very much, panel. Thank you, audience.
Real Time with Bill Maher. Ask Bill and his guests your questions right after the show at HBO.com or on Twitter.